Direct News TV. July 16, 2023. Russia-Ukraine war, counteroffensive not succeeding, Putin. Russian President Vladimir Putin claims the Ukrainian counteroffensive is not succeeding. Russia's air defense forces and fleet in the Black Sea shot down 10 Ukrainian drones over the Crimean port of Sevastopol, according to Russian officials. As Monday deadline looms, Putin yet to renew Black Sea grain deal. Putin has not yet said if Russia would renew the deal under which Moscow allowed Ukraine to ship its grain across the Black Sea. Set to expire late Monday, the deal brokered by the United Nations and Turkey, signed by Moscow and Kiev in July 2022, established a protected sea corridor allowing Ukraine's agricultural goods to reach global markets. Russia, however, says obstacles to its own exports remain, and has threatened to pull out of the grain deal over the issue. Russian security apparatus in chaos following Wagner mutiny, UK mod. Russia's security apparatus entered a period of confusion and negotiations after the Wagner Group mutiny, and an interim arrangement for the future of the group had started to form in recent days, the UK Ministry of Defence has said. In its latest intelligence update on Sunday, the ministry said, on July 12, 2023, the Russian MOD announced that Wagner had handed over 2,000 pieces of military equipment, including tanks. As of July 15, 2023, at least a small contingent of Wagner fighters have arrived at a camp in Belarus. Concurrently, some Wagner-associated social media groups have resumed activity, with a focus on highlighting the group's activities in Africa. Based on recent announcements by Russian officials, the state is likely prepared to accept Wagner's aspirations to maintain its extensive presence on the continent, it added. Zelensky, we are strongest when we are united. Accompanied by images from Russia's war, Zelensky posted an inspirational message to Ukrainians on Twitter. Wagner mercenaries arrive in CR, Russian private security company. Several hundred, experienced, Wagner fighters arrived in the Central African Republic to secure a referendum on July 30, a Russian private security company has said. Another plane has arrived in Bangui with instructors to work in the Central African Republic, said the Officers Union for International Security, OUIS, on Telegram on Sunday. According to the United States, OUIS is a front company for the Wagner Group in CR. It is run by Russian Alexander Ivanov, who was placed under American sanctions in January. The future of the private paramilitary group led by Yevgeny Prigozhin is uncertain after it launched a short-lived mutiny against Russian President Vladimir Putin's government on June 23 and 24. Wagner fighters seized Russian army sites and advanced towards Moscow before standing down under a deal struck with Putin and mediated by Belarusian leader Alexander Lukashenko, the details of which remain murky. Its activities abroad, particularly in Syria and several African countries, have been publicly called into question. Moscow seizes shares of Danone and Carlsberg subsidiaries. The Russian state has taken control of French yogurt maker Danone's Russian subsidiary along with beer company Carlsberg's stake in a local brewer, a decree signed by President Vladimir Putin has shown. The decree issued on Sunday said that foreign-owned stakes in Danone Russia and Baltika breweries were being put under the temporary management of government property agency Rozhmyshestvo. The Kremlin previously warned it could seize Western assets on what it said was a temporary basis in retaliation for foreign moves against Russian companies abroad after Moscow launched its Ukraine offensive on February 24. Al Jazeera joins a tank unit in eastern Ukraine. Battle tanks are playing a key role in the Ukraine war, as both sides use armored units in their advance. Western countries have promised and supplied Ukraine with modern tanks to help in its counteroffensive against Russia. But the majority of Ukraine's own tanks are from the old Soviet era and require regular maintenance. Ukrainians say Russians made advances, AJ correspondent. A top Ukrainian military official has said that Russians were advancing in some areas, like Bakhmut on the southern flank, in the country. We have heard from Deputy Defense Minister Hanna Maliar. What she said is that the Russians are actively advancing in the Kupiansk direction for the last 2 days just north of here, and she says that the Ukrainians are on the defensive there, Al Jazeera's Ast Baig said, reporting from Kostiantynivka, about 20 kilometers (12.4 miles) from Bakhmut. She says that the battles are fierce and positions change several times daily. That's quite sobering. That's quite honest from the Ukrainian Deputy Defense Minister. Because what we normally hear is about the Ukrainian advances, but what we are hearing from the Ukrainians is that the Russians are pushing back, Baig said. Ukrainian search unit finds remains of 445th Russian soldier. A Ukrainian search unit has exhumed remains in an eastern village of what it says was a Russian soldier killed in combat months ago. Platsdarm is a search team that has been in operation since the beginning of the war in eastern Ukraine, retrieving both civilian and military remains from the battlefield. The head of the search unit, Oleksiy Yukov, said they had found the 445th Russian soldier near Dolina, which was on the front line until Ukraine regained parts of the Donetsk region in September last year. Ukraine and Russia have held regular prisoner exchanges throughout the war, sometimes including swapping soldiers' remains. Advances in the east, south, Ukraine military. A spokesperson for the military's southern command has said that Ukrainian forces advanced more than a kilometer in one part of the southern front. In a statement on Sunday, the military said Kyiv made incremental gains in parts of the east and south since launching its long-awaited counteroffensive. Russia still using Iranian-made Shahid drones, Ukraine military. The Ukrainian military has said that over the previous 24 hours, Russia launched 2 Iranian-made Shahid exploding drones, 2 cruise missiles and 2 anti-aircraft guided missiles. In a regular update Sunday morning, the military said that Russia also launched 40 airstrikes and 46 attacks from multiple rocket launchers. 2 Ukrainian boys wounded by explosive device in Kherson. 2 boys, aged 8 and 10, were wounded when an explosive device left by Russian forces detonated in the southern region of Kherson, the Ukrainian Prosecutor General's office has said. Ukraine's strategy is to stretch Russian forces thin before striking, analysts say. Ukraine's main strategy in its counteroffensive is to starve Russian troops of ammunition and other supplies before striking, analysts say. It's also trying to stretch Moscow's forces thin by hitting a number of spots at the same time. The first phase of Ukraine's counteroffensive, to recapture Russian-occupied territory after more than 16 months of war, began weeks ago. Kyiv has claimed that its troops are edging forward. But otherwise, it has not offered much detail on how the counteroffensive is going. Western analysts say the counteroffensive, even if it prospers, won't end the war. But it could prove to be a decisive episode and strengthen Kyiv's hand in any negotiations. Ukraine is also keen to show the West that sending aid was worthwhile. Ukraine is gradually moving forward near Bakhmut, official. Kyiv said Sunday it was advancing near the eastern city of Bakhmut, which Russia seized in May in the longest and bloodiest battle of the war. We are gradually moving forward in the Bakhmut area. There is a daily advance on the southern flank around Bakhmut. On the northern flank, we are trying to hold our positions, the enemy is attacking, Deputy Defense Minister Gunnar Maliar said on Telegram. Maliar also said that Ukraine's forces were on the defensive against Russian forces near the eastern city of Kupiansk. For 2 days in a row, the enemy has been actively attacking in the Kupiansk sector in the Kharkiv region. We are on the defense, Maliar stated, adding that fierce battles are going on, and positions change several times a day. Russia claimed Ukrainian-backed plot to kill 2 journalists. A Moscow court has issued criminal charges against 7 people, motivated by national hatred, to kill 2 prominent Russian journalists in a Ukrainian-backed plot, Russia's state-owned TASS news agency said. The court approved the detention until September 14, under criminal charges of hooliganism, of 5 minors born in 2005 and 2006 and 2 men it said were part of an organized group, TASS said. TASS said Russia's FSB security service detained an unspecified number of people on Friday who conducted reconnaissance near the homes and workplaces of journalists Margarita Simonyan, head of state media outlet RT, and Ksenia Sobchak, who ran against President Vladimir Putin in 2018. Mikhailo Podolyak, advisor to Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, said in televised remarks that Russia was living in an absurd, constructed mythology. Asked about the case in an interview, Podolyak played down its significance, saying that journalists do not play any important role in the war nor in the loss of Russia's positions on the world stage. Absence of nuclear-powered submarines at Russia's naval parade. Russian state media report that no nuclear-powered submarines from Russia's Northern Fleet will be taking part in its Navy Day parade in St. Petersburg. Russia traditionally celebrates Navy Day on the last Sunday of July. Rehearsals for this year's parade are currently underway. My name is Kingsley. Please like, share, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be the first to be notified whenever we post. You won't regret it.